Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for following my presentation. I'm Ali bin Abdullah. I am a student at Open University Malaysia, OUM, and I'm doing my Master in Education. I'm proposing a research into the impact of teaching strategies on learning outcomes of Muslim Reverts at Perkim headquarters. Now, Perkim is an NGO which conducts classes for Muslim Reverts all over the country. At Perkim headquarters, there are about 100 Muslim Reverts studying there, and so since that student population is only about 100 students, all of them will be involved in the research. But there are also many other students studying at the various branches of Muslim Revert classes all over the country, and so the student population at Perkim headquarters can be considered to be a sampling of the entire population of Muslim Reverts studying all over the country. Now, Muslim Reverts are a very important human resource to the Muslim community. Technically, a Muslim Revert is somebody who is not born into a Muslim family. He, by the will of God, reverts to Islam. Very often, a Muslim Revert is referred to as a mu'alaf. The mu'alaf comes from the Arabic word mu'alafa qulubuhum. Mu'alafa qulubuhum, which means a person whose heart is to be won. You see, a Muslim Revert is somebody who is new to Islam, a person who has just embraced Islam, a person who needs to be taught in the correct way, who needs to be trained in the correct way about the Muslim way of life. The Holy Prophet said that a newborn child is like a white piece of cloth. It is up to the parents to paint on that piece of cloth, and it is up to the parents to bring up the child to become a Muslim or a Jew or a Majusi or a Nasrani. In the same way, a Muslim Revert is also like a newborn child. A Muslim Revert is like a white piece of cloth, and it is up to the teachers who teach him to make sure that he develops into a practicing Muslim, a Muslim who practices Islam in the full sense of the word, and not just become a Muslim who is a Muslim by name only. Now, in the literature research I did on this subject, I found that there is something missing. All the literature review tells me is that the research were done cross-sectionally. Now, in the Islamic sense, education is exemplified by the word tarbiyah. Tarbiyah in Islam means development. In Islam, education means development of the student in all aspects: emotional, mental, spiritual. Is a holistic development. In Islam, there is no education if there is no development. Now, the research that has been done so far, because they are cross-sectional, it is impossible to get any data about the development of the Muslim Reverts. And there is also another thing missing. All the research done were descriptive research, observatory research. There were no experimental research. There were no treatment groups and control groups. There were no introduction of new elements into the teaching process. Now, this is what I intend to do in my research: the impact of teaching strategies on learning outcomes of Muslim Reverts at Perkim headquarters. Now, the main basis of my theoretical framework is the engagement learning theory, which was formed by Kersley and Schneider in 1999. This engagement learning theory is a technology based framework. But technology is not critical to this engagement theory. It is very useful but not critical. In this engagement theory, there are three main components. One, relate. Two, create. Three, donate. First, the students have to relate to each other and relate to the subject they are learning. In this theory, the students are not passive recipients of knowledge. They become active participants. They take part actively in the learning process, which takes us to the second component, which is create. In this theory, the students work on a project to create something. They relate to each other, they work with each other, and they create something. And at the end, the product of their project, the result of their creation will be shared with outside community. And that is where the third component comes in, donate. How does that work? That works in giving the students a perspective that what they learn is not just something inside a classroom. What they learn will be useful to the outside community, to people outside their classroom. Now, that is my theoretical framework. Based on that, I have created a conceptual framework which includes a few aspects. Number one is the flipped classroom technique. I will introduce this flipped classroom technique at the beginning of the class. In the normal process, we teach a class and then we give an assignment. In the flipped classroom, we do the reverse. We give the assignment first and then we teach the class. So, using this technique, I will group the students into groups, and using technology, I will put them into WhatsApp groups. WhatsApp is a very convenient app for the students to work together, communicate to each other, cooperate with each other, collaborate, and that's how they can work together on the assignment, and they can create the results that are required. Now, that is one part of my conceptual framework. Another part is the pre-class and post-class test. Pre-class and post-class test. I will also use technology for this. I will use an app called Socrative. Socrative is a very easy app to use. You can administer MCQ, multiple choice questions, easily. But the most important thing about Socrative is that it is able to display the results in real time. This has been tested on students who are normally tardy about their homework. Students who couldn't care less about their homework, who do not care whether they hand in their homework or not. However, when Socrative was used, these students suddenly became enthusiastic. They became motivated to do their work, to do the task. Why? Because there is instant feedback, and that is another feature of my conceptual framework, instant feedback. The students can see immediately who are taking part in the test, and more importantly, who are getting the right answers. Right, there is a leaderboard, so even students who are normally tardy, normally couldn't care less about their lesson, suddenly they become motivated to take part because we use technology to stimulate them. So in my conceptual framework, we have these three parts: the flipped classroom, the pre-test, the pre-class and the post-class test, and the instant feedback. Now, there are only about 100 students at the Perkim headquarters, so I will involve all of them, but they will represent as a sample of all the students studying at the Perkim classes all over the country. Now, the results of this research, the impact of learning strategies on, the results of this research on the impact of teaching strategies on learning outcomes of Muslim Reverts at Perkim headquarters will be very useful to anyone who wants to teach Muslim Reverts, to anyone who wants to develop courses for Muslim Reverts. Muslim reverts are a precious human resource. They need to be educated correctly so that they can contribute to the Muslim community. Inshallah, my research will add to this knowledge. Inshallah. Thank you very much for following my presentation. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.